Good morning. So this is Vivekanand, and this video is going to be a series of 3-minute long short segments, and each of those segments will be a different subject matter. And the reason I'm producing this is the original vision, 2 years ago when the age of dissemination started, was to create content, both video and otherwise, that would be specific to a subject, and then I would deposit that on my website, which I did, so you can check out the website. I'll put the link in the description, okay? And then the idea was the final year, which is where I am right now, I would create content that broke the barriers between these subject matters and created this sort of surreal slurry of different ideas. And it turns out that that's kind of hard to do. It takes a lot of time, you have to edit it and stuff like that. I haven't really done even one of those. And so I've decided to do this, okay? Short videos, segments, minimal editing, and I don't know, let's see what the creativity comes out of it is. So the first segment that I'm going to work on is on the topic of clothing, and I have a whole section of my website dedicated to clothing, so you can check that out. I'll put it in the description, a link. Clothing is like identity, and part of what I'm exploring when I wear a different outfit is to wear things that have meaning to me. Each of these articles of clothing that I'll go over connects to my history or something that's important to me. The second thing that I like sort of exploring in my outfits is the theme of ridiculousness, pairing two things together that seem kind of ridiculous but have some sort of thematic connection. So the first article of clothing, let me walk back a little bit just so you can see the full outfit, is this suit jacket. And the suit jacket is quite old. It's from when I was back in high school and I played the clarinet, and I would have to wear this during concerts for a band. And what's kind of interesting is that this is formal wear, and it's ridiculous because you have these things called shoulder pads over here. And what's kind of interesting is that even though it's ridiculous and the shoulder pad is completely useless, respectable people who you consider to be intelligent will be wearing this all the time, and this is seen as being really good. What I paired it against is this life jacket. Now, combined with the suit jacket, the life vest or jacket is kind of ridiculous. And yet, unlike the shoulder pads, which have no use, the jacket padding actually has a lot of utility, has a lot of purpose, okay? So the life jacket is something that I've been exploring recently. I think I find it to be a very beautiful thing. I like tucking my hands in like this. I like tucking my hands in like this and what it does to my posture, and I like the color of it, so I've been pairing it with a lot of the clothing I wear. This colored shirt is a hand-me-up from my younger brother who no longer wanted the shirt, and so I inherited it. This tie is from Dave Frankel and Joy's wedding. When I attended, they gave it to me. These glasses are from the Grand Canyon. I found it. On day 1 I found it and did not touch it. And on day 2 when I returned, they were still there. So then I rescued it. The pants over here that you see are fancy pants that were gifted to me when I was in India. And the boots that you see over here are jungle boots that I got when I went to Officer Candidate School for the Marine Corps. And that's the full outfit. Thank you. You getting me?
Huh?
All right, here we are in the second video segment, and the goal is to take ideas from the first video segment and let them bleed into this segment. So you can see I'm wearing the outfit from the first segment, and here I am with my mother in a Pawpaw grove. And I learned about the Pawpaw through educational outreach. One of my students who I had brought through a high school program, outreach program that I did, told me about this. And so if you're interested about educational outreach, you can see the link in the description and you'll find that there. Now the pawpaw is actually kind of interesting. It's a plant that is indigenous to northeastern United States. The Native Americans used to eat it, and they spread the seeds across the eastern part of the United States. The other thing that's kind of interesting is I had watched a TED video of a Native American, and he was talking about how it was kind of a tragedy, and it really was a tragedy, that there are no Native American restaurants that you find in the United States, all because of the horrible genocide that happened, where the entire culture of the different Native American groups was wiped out. But what he said was really interesting was that the cuisine of the Native Americans was very regionally specific. because you took things that grew on the land itself. And so if you wanted to taste Native American cuisine, you had to sample and take what was growing. And so pawpaw is one of those things. So here I am. I'll show you this fruit over here. And Ma, can you make it go up a little bit?
Yeah, it is
This
up.
is the pawpaw fruit right over here. Okay. Okay, go ahead. Do harder, yeah.
What I do more than this? You
do. Use your Indian goddess energy. Like vigorously, like higher frequency. Or yeah, that'll do.
Can I do it with how you do it?
The third segment is going to be about my research because here I am in my lab. So now you may be thinking, as I was, how do I connect the first two segments? And really the joy of doing this series is to motivate myself to brainstorm interesting new connections, okay? So the first part, the outfit, was pretty easy to do. I just wear it. Here I am being a fashion person in the lab. The second part though, getting this pawpaw to connect to my research is actually kind of difficult, but interesting because I think I've come up with a really cool connection. So as a really quick reminder, what I do for research, and I'll put a link in the description if you're interested in really learning about it, because I can't describe it fully right now, is I strap blindfolded people into this machine over here, and then what they do is they use a joystick to try to stabilize themselves, just try to balance themselves. Right now no one's in it, so it's just falling over by itself, over and over again, and then resetting. Okay, and then what I do is I put them in an orientation where they get disoriented, right? Where they don't know where they are in space. And I call this my space flight analog condition, just because similar to an astronaut, they can't use gravitational cues and they get very disoriented. Now, again, in order for you to understand how that happens, you should really just watch the videos, or just read my website, or just ask me, and I'll totally tell you. You don't have to fully appreciate that right now. But then what I do, and here they are, is my current, thing that I'm studying is taking these little vibrators. I take the vibrators and I put on the skin of the person while they're trying to balance themselves. And the idea is that the vibrators give them a sense of where they are, like where they're tilted. And then that extra sense then allows them to perform better when they're disoriented than if they didn't have the vibrations. Okay, so this is sort of like human augmentation, adding technology onto human to enhance their performance where typically they would not be able to perform very well. So how do I connect this to pawpaws? Well, so I was thinking about it, and my mom, when she was trying to get that pawpaw from the tree, was just strangling the trunk of the tree and just shaking it as hard as she could. And then later I tried to do that, and was unsuccessful, and that one fruit just did not fall. So then I began to think, well, what if you had a drone? And the drone, there's an operator, and they fly that drone up, and it goes, and it has a little claw, and it grabs that pawpaw and brings it down to earth. So then I thought, well, how would you implement that? How would you get a claw to close around a pawpaw? Because if you go too hard, you'll puncture the fruit and then it's sort of wasted. So then the idea was, well, what if you had a drone with a claw and the ends of the claw had pressure sensors? So then you go, as the claw begins to grasp that pawpaw fruit, the person has vibrators on them, and the vibrators begin to vibrate more and more as the claw begins to feel more and more pressure as it grabs that fruit. So that's sort of like an interesting idea, and that connects to the research because you're using vibrations to enhance your performance. But what's actually kind of different, or what I should add on to that, is that alone is not that interesting, right? People have, to a certain extent, in different conditions, shown that you can use pressure sensors attached to like claws or gloves or things like that, and that can be useful. Really what I'm trying to show with this device, or explore, is that when you augment the human, you add these vibrotactors onto a person, when they get disoriented, all sorts of crazy stuff is happening, right? They can't even trust their inner sensors. The question is, are they going to trust these vibrotactors? And if they're not, then what do you have to do to build that relationship between human and machine? And that's the same exact question we can explore with the Pawpaw, drone clothing. It's the same underlying question. If you have an operator, that operator, maybe mosquitoes start attacking that operator, and all of a sudden they're very distracted and in a really negative place. Are they going to be able to make sense of those vibrations to get the Pawpaw, or are they going to not? And then what kind of things do we need to do to really meld and mix this human and machine? Okay,